It's time to cut apart what might be the most comfortable but least durable Chuck Taylors ever, the Converse CX Chuck Taylors. So these sneakers came out last year at some point, and I had a hard time getting a hold of them at the time, that I kind of forgot about them, and then saw them in stores the other day, so I bought a pair so we could finally cut them in half. And we are gonna compare it to the regular Chucks and the Chuck 70s, but we're not gonna go super in depth, just kind of the highlights and just lightly touch on them, because I already have a full video on Chucks and a full video on Chuck 70s comparing the two. So I'll put the links in the description and also in the cards so you can check them out. So let's go over the shoe information. So the brand is obviously Converse. These are the CX highs. The color I got is the black, the clear, and wild mango on the bottom here. They weigh 10 ounces compared to the 12 ounces in the regular Chucks, and the 18 ounces or 1 pound, 2 ounces of the Chuck 70s. They retail for $75, which is $25 more than the regular Chucks, and they're made in Vietnam. Now let's go over the information we can gather about these shoes before we cut them in half, starting with the upper material. So this is their new stretch canvas, and it's kind of an interesting material because it stretches side to side, but doesn't really stretch from up to down nearly as much. So it's kind of a directional stretch canvas, which makes a little bit more sense because as you're walking, you want that stretch back and forth, but not so much up and down, versus the regular Chucks is just a lighter canvas, and the Chuck 70s have that really thick canvas that I'm a big fan of. And on the inside, you've got this, it kind of feels like a stretchy nylon material. I'm sure it's just to help complement the stretch in the canvas, and to give you a layer that's not a hard canvas that's gonna wear your ankle out if you're not wearing higher socks. And then to the construction, so it's built really similarly to the regular Chucks, where you got the foxing around the outside, but the cool thing is this one's see-through, and I think a lot of people hate these, but I like them, especially because they kind of remind me of the first generation Game Boy Advance with that clear blue color, if you're old enough to remember that. It's kind of got like a blue hint to it, and you can see that foam midsole, that mango, was like spicy mango or whatever they call it for the color. And then it's also on the top here. So I think it's a pretty cool look. I like the clear foxing around the outside. It's not gonna be quite as nice of and durable of a foxing as the Chuck 70s, because this has got that reinforcement, but it's probably pretty close to the durability, if not a little bit more durable than the regular Chucks, because they say it's a re-engineered rubber, and it does feel a little bit more rubbery and less plasticky compared to the regular Chucks. And then to the insert, or the insole, we got a nice foam insert actually. It's better than the other two. It's kind of like a memory foam PU insole. It's pretty comfortable, nice and squishy. It's not gonna add that much more squish, but it is a nice little touch. It feels really similar to the foam that they, if not the exact same foam they put, and that's Strobel stitched to the inside of the Chuck 70s. So if you like the feel of this one, you're gonna like the feel of this insole. And then to what's underneath of the insert or the insole is a Strobel stitched really light foam, and it's kind of there's a really thin layer of fabric underneath there too, and it doesn't seem like it's the most durable thing ever, and the foam is a really light foam. So I'm not really sure why they put that in rather than just a regular lasting board of some kind, or like a woven material. But I guess we'll see when we get it cut in half. Maybe there's something else below it. And then to the star of this shoe, the outsole. And I believe what's probably the midsole as well. And this is a Phylon midsole, which is basically a reheated EVA foam. They take EVA foam beads and melt it back down and form this outsole, which makes it a little bit denser and a little bit longer wearing EVA foam, allegedly. It's hard to say exactly, but it is a pretty light foam. If you push on this, it's a soft foam. That's kind of where my questions about the durability of these shoes come into play, because all the other Chucks, you got like a harder rubber outsole. It's gonna be a long wearing material, versus this foam. I'm not so sure how long this is gonna last. And maybe it's multiple densities. Maybe there's 2 layers of this foam on the inside, but it just feels like a cheaper EVA foam that's not gonna last very long. And just to put it in perspective, we'll run a little durometer test on this. And the durometer of this is a 56 Shore A versus the Chuck 70s are a 70 Shore A, and regular Chucks are probably around that same 68 Shore A. So it's really, really soft. It's just kind of an odd choice for an outsole, because usually a foam midsole is complemented by like a TPU outsole, kind of like you see in the Blundstones, or just a layer of rubber to kind of give it that longevity and the durability. But this is just foam on the outsole, which I thought was really strange. And I think part of the reason they didn't really put a whole lot of extra thought into this and maybe coat it with some TPU or some rubber is this isn't really the main reason for the CX series. The disrupts, I'll add a little photo here, it seems like that's the main reason they came out with this line, and this kind of seems like it was a little bit of an afterthought to help advertise that and maybe recoup some of the cost involved with making a really kind of out there style shoe, and if it doesn't land with people. That brings us to the fit, feel, and look, and these babies are comfortable. You know, I thought the Chuck 70s were pretty comfortable compared to the regular Chucks, because even though people say these are comfortable, I don't think they're comfortable. It's literally just a thin layer of foam with rubber underneath your foot. But these, I feel like you're walking on a cloud compared to the regular Chucks. And they fit about the same as regular Chucks. You know, you can buy your same size and you're gonna get a more comfortable version of Chucks with a little different look. And yeah, so I like them overall. I'm just a little concerned about the longevity. And I doubt there's anything on the inside here that's gonna make me think they're more durable than what they seem like from the outside. But I guess that's what's next. So let's cut these baby in half after we talk about the sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in your creativity with Skillshare. And there's classes on all sorts of stuff. There's classes on graphic design, film and video, marketing, entrepreneurship, and lots more. Basically anything you want to take a class on, they've got it. I'm currently taking the cinematography basics, understanding filmography style by Zach Mulligan to help me improve my videography skills with these style of videos and with like the ASMR videos and stuff. And hopefully you'll see some of the fruits of the labor of going through this class pretty soon, because we're gonna change up the lighting in here so it's less flat, a little bit more dynamic, and we're gonna change up the backdrop to make it just a little more interesting and less cluttered with the hundreds of boxes. And the thing that's really nice is it's curated specifically for learning, meaning there's no ads you have to sit through, and they're always launching new products and premium classes so you can stay focused and follow your passions and continue to grow those passions even after you take your first class. And it's less than $10 a month with an annual subscription, so it's pretty affordable to get into. And when you join, you can try one of Skillshare's new live classes and experience real-time inspiration as you connect with popular teachers while watching them work alongside other members. And the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a free trial of the premium membership, so you can explore your passion and your creativity for free, which is really nice. So huge thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Be sure to thank them by checking out the link in my description and signing up for that free trial. Why not? You got nothing to lose. It's a free trial. All right, we got this thing cut in half, and it's one of the easier shoes I've ever cut in half. So let's see what's inside. So my hopes of this being something other than just a foam outsole and midsole are gone, because it's literally just a big old fat layer of foam like I feared. I was hoping there's something else in here to make it a little bit more durable, but then again, it's only a $75 shoe. So let's quickly go through the layers. So you've got that Phylon outsole, which also makes up the midsole, and it's pretty thick. You know, you got quite a bit of foam to wear through compared to like the regular Chucks or the Chuck 70s that just have a little bit thinner rubber. Is it gonna last longer than the rubber? There's really no way it's going to, unless this is some miracle Phylon that has crazy softness and also durability, but I'm willing to bet that this will wear out several times faster than either of the regular Chucks. And then you got that thin layer of like knit material that holds the foam on. So I don't really know what this layer of foam is for, because it's not gonna add that much more squish because it's such a light foam. And this does all the extra squish that you need anyway, so I don't really understand why that's there. Maybe it has something to do with how these are constructed, and maybe it makes it easier or something, or maybe it releases from the mold easier. But functionally, I don't really see a reason for this soft layer of foam. And then the counter material is a harder plastic. It doesn't seem to be a fragile plastic, but it's different from the softer rubber in the Chuck 70s and the reconstituted rubber counter of the regular Chucks. And that's really all there is to the shoe. You know, there's not a whole lot to it. So now let's go over the pros and cons. So starting with the pros, comfort is the number one pro, and maybe the only pro of this shoe, because it's the main reason this shoe is probably created, to make a really comfortable Chuck, or maybe it was just kind of maybe this is just a kind of an afterthought to help sell the Disrupt and help position it in a way that's not so foreign that it makes it a little bit easier to get to the point you're willing to buy those ones. I don't know, it's kind of a weird shoe. You know, it seems like there was not a whole lot of thought put into this. It seems like it's kind of an afterthought. They had the materials, they developed the techniques to make the Disrupt, and then they just also made a regular Chuck out of it. You know, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of thought behind this shoe, which is rather unfortunate, because how cool would it have been if they did this Phylon midsole with a little bit harder rubber outsole and made a really comfortable but durable version of the shoe. Then to the cons. So obviously, the cons are obvious. It's not durable. There's no way it's going to be nearly as durable as regular Chucks. And the regular Chucks are not known for their durability as it is. So my guess is you're not going to get a lot of wear out of these. You know, they're going to be comfortable. They have a certain look, but they're pretty terrible when it comes to durability. I'm kind of disappointed in these, because I had a lot of hopes for these, but they're just not going to last very long. So overall, these just kind of feel like an afterthought to the Disrupts. It feels similar to how the Carhartt boots are just using the name to sell Carhartt. Maybe not as bad as that, but they do definitely feel like there was not a whole lot of thought and engineering that went into these, because if they did put some thought into them, they would make them more durable and still be able to maintain that comfort, which is kind of a bummer. Maybe they'll come out with a better version, because I think, you know, Chuck Taylors have remained pretty much untouched for the last 100 years. You know, you got the Chuck 70s, you got the regular Chucks, you got the Chuck 2s. But for the most part, this is the most change we've seen inside of the Converse All Stars in basically 100 years. And they just kind of flopped, in my opinion. So if you've got a pair of these, let me know what you think, and let me know how they've lasted for you, and if this has just gotten to a point where it's completely flat and maybe even slippery to some degree, because I would assume you'd start wearing this down and it would just become a flat surface, and then as soon as you step on water, you start hydroplaning out of control, and it could be a little bit slippery. So thank you guys. See ya.